Obviously, as we've been talking about it over the weekend, Houston area residents woke up to cold, rainy, and in some cases icy Sunday as a winter storm warning remained in effect across the region. Some neighborhoods even reported thunder sleet, a rare mix of lightning and freezing precipitation as temperatures dropped towards freezing. In response, the city of Houston continues to operate dozens 24-hour warming centers for vulnerable residents. Mayor John Whitmire says 940 people checked into those centers Saturday night. And joining us to tell us more and give us the latest update on the efforts to keep the city safe this weekend is Houston Mayor John Whitmire. Mayor Whitmire, thank you for joining us on Hello Houston.
Hello, Mayor.
Hello, Houston.
Okay, I know it's been a long weekend for you and those people that work with you. Where do we stand right now?
We're being very diligent, all hands on deck. We're resupplying the centers, still having new arrivals all night long. We went past about 1,200 people. Some very sad situations. I was at West Gray at 10 o'clock last night, and a mother had 5 children in the car. The 11-year-old came in with her because she did not speak English, but we had language skilled individuals. She was a domestic abuse victim, could not go back home, was going to sleep in the car because she has an autistic child that she didn't want to bring into the center. So I gave her all the money I had on me and asked her to go get a place for the night and come back today. We tried to get her in the women's center. So each of these individuals have really challenging stories, or they wouldn't be finding themselves in our center. So, I can't say enough about city employees sleeping on the floor around the clock. There's a lot goes into successfully handling the storm. First responders for certain, but public works, health department, and the Parks Department run the centers, but it's a multi-agency department operation, and I'm pretty much pulled into every one of them that we confront. I visited all 12 over the weekend. Good news is we have backup generators now at all 12. Thank the Lord we didn't have to use them, but we were prepared. We still have to get through tonight. Tonight will be bitter cold. I don't want the clear skies to fool anyone, but it'll be in the 20s tonight with a chill factor probably in the single digits. So the tough task will be tomorrow. When it gets above freezing, they'll be released from the warming centers. And the sad news is over 1,000 people will be released on the streets of Houston. And that's why we need homeless shelters so bad. So anyway, I could talk the rest of the day about our challenge.
Mayor Whitmire, as we look to tonight and knowing the forecast, are the 12 warming centers going to be staying open through how long?
We're going to, for certain, be open till noon tomorrow, and then we'll make a assessment of what conditions are and what's appropriate. But for certain, and let me go ahead and stop here before we go any further. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome. The lady I helped last night, she was desperate and came here. I don't care about her immigration status at all. HPD were picking up people. I saw them at Fondy last night at 9. They're picking people off the street and putting them in the back of a patrol car and bringing them to shelters. We just want to serve, and we're doing a hell of a good job of it.
Quickly, for folks that are listening to this and they hear you talking about the centers, how do they find out where these are?
It's amazing. First of all, most of the homeless have a pretty good communication system. Yeah. Many of them have phones. We have hot teams with homeless teams that go out, get underneath the bridges, and we seek them out. We see them, thank goodness for Metro. They see somebody at a bus stop that appears to be in need. They take them. And no questions asked. Metro, HPD, the health department, me, everyone we have open doors and we spread the word. And
I
it's
guess
still
then
building
I guess my question is more to the fact that you're at home, something happens, your heat goes out, maybe there's a drain on the system, something goes bad, suddenly you find yourselves in need. You may not be in the network of the unhoused, but suddenly you're in need of a heating center. You may not have access to the internet. The best way to find these places, what would you recommend?
Go to a multi-service center.
Okay.
All of them are open. Multi-service center. If you need a ride, call Metro Lift. Talk to neighbors. We have to all, be very flexible, creative. Ask your neighbors, take care of your seniors, your pets. Bart saved 95 stray dogs yesterday. They got in a shelter. So, we're multifaceted. Are there going to be bumps in the road? Sure. I got to deal with bureaucracy. I got some health worker at Southwest said, somebody can't donate coffee. They're very particular, as we learned during the Feed Fest. The health department wants everyone to be healthy, but I have to get involved and use common sense. If somebody wants to donate coffee to the homeless, let them do it. And,
Mayor Whitmire, as a leader of one of the largest cities in the nation, and knowing that up until now the lights have stayed on, how do you balance that line between overhype and also keeping people aware and vigilant?
Well, first of all, I have a lot of experience with tragedies and challenges of storms, tornadoes, you name it, prison, difficulties. It is a challenge, and it's a complex thing to do the right thing. I mentioned to y'all the other day, on weather forecasts, you get mixed reports. Hell, under Barrows, Saturday morning last year, it was going to Mexico. And then it shifted to Houston. So we got ready. I still get very angry when people say we weren't ready. We were ready. I did inherit a system without generators, which I, quite frankly, learned during the storm. But back to your specifically. So we were ready. But back to this one. You have a great team in place. Our public works director is excellent. Our fire and chief, excellent. Brian Mason at the emergency center is so smart and resourceful. We talked to Austin Emergency Center, the states. DPS is in reserve in case we lose light in the community, in the neighborhoods for patrol. It's a very tough job to try to get people prepared but not alarm them, because I want them to make rational decisions. Get prepared. And then after you're prepared, you have to be cautious. And, on the way to the emergency center yesterday morning at 8, I saw TxDOT still treating the north and west loop. So we don't let up, but we need Houstonians to do their part. Now, I'm sitting here looking outdoors. It looks so pretty. But you go outside, it's dangerously cold. It's going to get worse tonight. So you just can't let your guard down. But I talked to CenterPoint. They are very proactive. They've repositioned things, pre-positioned things. But the real dangerous things we can't control north of us. The ice in the East Texas counties, Montgomery County. The freeze line really day before yesterday, Sunday morning when I was talking to the public, stopped about 50 miles north of Houston. But, Frank knows how things can change rapidly. It might wind or whatever controls the weather could give us a little boost of a blast down there. I got weather reports saying, get ready all the way to Galveston. So we talked to the county, we talked to the state and the feds, and then I ultimately have to own the decision.
We are speaking right now with Houston Mayor John Whitmire. If you want to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. On the line, we have Joyce from Northwest Houston. Joyce, what's your question or concern for the mayor?
Do the warming centers take your pets?
Yes, ma'am. They haven't before, but I changed that. We have a room for pet owners and their pets. So come on down.
Thank you very much, Joyce, and thank you, Mayor, for that. Another comment comes in from Alex Garza, wants to know, could Metro put up posted signs on each of their bus stops with shelter information?
It's a good suggestion, and I'll pass that along.
Thank you for that.
Mayor, do you have any idea were 911 calls or even 311 calls active, like more so than ever over the weekend, or was it pretty average?
I understand it was pretty average. Pretty average, I understand. And that's because people were prepared. They listened about staying off the road. And we just didn't have a real huge uptick in emergency calls. Partly, I went by the LBJ emergency room. What night was it? Saturday night. We were going to Northeast Multi-Service Center. My health director used to be an emergency doctor there at LBJ. She was with us. We went inside LBJ emergency room. A little side note. Last year I did that, and social media was saying, the mayor's in LBJ hospital, like I was a patient. So I had to clear that up. So this year I told everybody, please don't put on social media I'm in the hospital because I'm only working, okay?
That's funny.
Their emergency room was very underpopulated, and they told us because so many of their patients and clients are in the warming center. Mm-hmm. So think about that. If we didn't have warming centers, people go to the emergency rooms to get warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we had this number that 940 people checked into the warming center Saturday night. How does that compare? Is that more than you expected? Less than expected?
No, it's pretty normal, and it's a gradual build-up. I was there last night, and people are still being dropped off, walking up. I actually had one or two people leave, believe it or not. So it's a mix. Let me tell you, I'm fascinated. I mean, I love humans and human nature. So I went into Northeast Multi-Service Center Saturday night around 10, and a lady came up and hugged me. Oh, Mayor, She said, I saw you on TV last night. I said, how'd you see me on TV last night? She said, oh, I was at home. I said, why are you here tonight? And she said, oh, my house is so cold. I wanted to be here. Then at Fondy last night, we had two nursing students, very bright, clean-cut young people. And I talked to them. A month ago, they lost their apartment because they're in nursing school and lost some of their funding. Mm. So, you have such a wide range of personalities and circumstances, a lot of mental health. And it's sad that when this warming centers are closed, they go back to the streets. We need caseworkers so bad. And once we open emancipation and we've got our eyes on other shelters, you will have people located long enough that you can do a holistic approach about helping them apply for a job and permanent housing. There's just, the message is those of us that have a warm place to live and family and work, we're very blessed. All you got to go is with me one night and see how unfortunate some people find themselves.
Mayor, what's the status of the city doing business? Jury duty, trash pickup, those sort of things. Are we back to normal yet, or is that going to be tomorrow?
That'll be tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Only essential services today. All the garbage cans are out in my neighborhood. Courts not being held. Only essential services. And that was very precautious. Lord knows as cold as it can be, but HISD's not having school, and I just don't want kids at home if their parents are working by themselves, if their parents are city employees. So it was a mutual decision with HISD, and I think Superintendent Miles, he's a pretty stickler about school. He thinks schools are essential service, and I can't disagree with that, but I don't want to, an 8-year-old out at a bus stop in 12-degree weather either. So he made the right decision. I already knew what I was going to do. We thought about letting everybody come in at noon, kind of a middle-of-the-road, reasonable approach, but after the schools were closed, I said, no, parents need to be at home.
Yeah. So much, and I know we've talked about this, but it doesn't hurt to go back and ask again. So much of what you have to do is anticipating what's going to happen. Your understanding of the weather, not just for tonight, but for the rest of the week, what are you being advised at this point?
Well, I hate to bring it up, but we're told we're going to have another episode next Saturday and Sunday with temperatures in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't get much relief. We have night council tomorrow night, so that's public session. Then we'll have council Wednesday morning. But after attending those meetings, I will be working pretty much, I almost said around the clock, but that wouldn't be true. Long hours with the department heads. We will do an assessment of how we did this storm, and then I'm told Saturday and Sunday will be the worst. So you got to resupply resources. You got to let the personnel get some rest. But also, let me just throw this in for consideration. It's very expensive, very expensive. We will spend several $1 million on this current storm. And, the city is broke, no doubt. I said it the second month I was in office. We are making efficiency studies and doing the best we can to cut out waste and duplication, but it takes money to run a city, and we're evaluating that very carefully.
Mayor Whitmire, from your perspective, did people stay off the streets? Can you talk to us about the roads and if they were cleared?
Did we behave?
You cooperated in Houstonians. and you know what? I'm very, very what's the word I want to use? Efficient. I'm very cautious about my press conferences. I do not hold them unless they need to be held. You won't find me having a press conference about things are doing great. I only go to the public when I have a message they need to hear, and they listen. I have credibility, even if I have to be the one to say it. When I say I mean business, you need to be off the road at midnight. Originally, I was told by my advisors, shut it down at 6. Tell everybody to be home at 6. Well, I got away. One, is 6 the real number, or is that just kind of giving everybody a little head start? I have to worry about the economic impact that the storms have on Houston. So when I found out the freezing weather would really not get here till after midnight, I said, get off the road at midnight. And I was up late Saturday night going to warming shelters, Sunday morning early. People listen, and they're smart, and they look out for each other. So the roads were pretty. Now here's another thing you have to think about. We got a lot of interstate travelers through Houston. Folks coming out of Louisiana on their way to somewhere, or people crossing the country. They come through here and they don't know about the warning. So, TxDOT does a good job. They've got digital warning. So, hey, I'm just very fortunate right now. I got a great team. They're there in place for the right reason. They're professional. They're honest. They're passionate, and they're doing this for the right reason. And that makes such a huge difference.
Well, it sounds like our biggest challenge with this particular storm has been the people. Keeping people safe and warm, as opposed to not a lot of power lines down, not a lot of freezing bridges, probably not a lot of car accidents. It's been sort of people focused, would you say?
I'd say absolutely, but that's the business we're in, people business and their safety and welfare. First responders, we've got such a great fire and police department, and they don't get enough shout outs. They have families, they have homes they have to worry about. You can't imagine how young our police officers are. I'm always impressed when I go to a facility and I start visiting with them, and they come from our region, they come from out of state. People want to work for HPD. I got the benefit package up to the point where people are not leaving, they're not transferring, and it makes a difference. Morale's high. Our first response, code 1, most serious calls, we answer in 5.6 minutes, which is still, too long. Dallas is at 12 minutes. And we're working in the right direction, but morale's high. And you know what's amazing? The benefit package I gave HPD is a ripple effect. It's affected. We watched the county, struggle to pay theirs, what we're competitive with. But I was in Brenham about a week ago for a Friday luncheon, and Brenham police came up to me and said, "Thank you, Mayor, for our pay raise." And I had to stop. I was thinking, what the hell did I do in Brenham? It's because they're competitive with what Houston standards are now, and it's making a difference. Now, we still got some work to do at the courthouse. We still have some violent offenders that we take down there, and they're getting low bonds or second and third, fourth chance. And I understand second chance for nonviolent offenders. I've preached it in Austin for years. But if somebody puts a gun in your face and they've done it, they need to be held accountable. So that's an element of, the warming centers. We have to keep the peace in the warming centers. But we don't ask questions. We don't know who's out on bond or who's on probation. And we certainly don't care about your immigration status. And I want to emphasize that because, the media this morning, I've had to deal with a couple of stories which are absolutely false, that ICE is dealing around our warming centers. That is just absolutely wrong. And it's a fear monger. And I know clickbait, and I know the media wants readers and listeners, but come on, folks. This is not a time to be building your readership or listeners.
Correct. Couldn't agree more.
I do think, Mayor, though, that is something that is very top of mind, especially given the fact that Houston is such a diverse city and we want our community to stay safe.
We absolutely want them to be safe, and I'm handling that immigration issue as responsible as humanly possible. You will not get me calling names to people that could come down on it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work in the other cities. We are following state, city laws. We do not interact with ICE at all. San Antonio, they blocked the streets for them to move in. That's unheard of. We wouldn't even dream of that. But another issue is we've got to have people quit inflaming things. I know a couple of elected officials said, HPD's at OST and South McGregor. Yeah, they're there doing HPD work. They're not there interfering or even surrounded or connected to ICE whatsoever. We do not interact with ICE. And it's a very delicate thing. I can't be, broadcasting that or appear like I'm powerless to the job that they're doing. But they're not here in numbers or surge like they are in other parts of the country because I'm keeping it very responsible in business. The other major cities, start naming the major cities in America. They're all in turmoil. Mm-hmm. They're out on the streets. And there's a tragedy in Minneapolis. I understand that. But from Houston to start throwing things and words at them would just draw attention to us that we don't want.
Hear, hear.
Houston Mayor John Whitmire, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us today on Hello Houston with the latest weather updates.
Yes.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you. It's a great means for me to communicate.
Well,
yes.
Stay warm, Mayor, and thank you for all your work.
All right. Be safe.
Thank you.
Be safe.